Hi, Premiere. I hope everybody's doing well. Sorry about my video yesterday. My computer's broken, so I have to fix that. I'm gonna try to do this in a little bit shorter time than I did yesterday, but I do have a lot to talk about. The biggest news is that every clinic will be getting a web camera this week, hopefully by Friday. And then if we're able to successfully deliver and install all of those webcams by Friday, then we'd like to have our first FOC Friday meeting between 12 and 1 ish. But we'll make a more formal announcement about that once we confirm that we were successfully able to deliver and install those cameras. This is being done for a couple of reasons. The biggest reason was, as I mentioned recently, we were going through those survey results, and one of the biggest things we found was that you guys really enjoy each other, which is awesome. And also that people do enjoy the in-person or face-to-face training. They feel like that is more effective for them. So the web cameras is going to help us in both of those areas. We'll be able to do some face-to-face training. We'll be able to get everybody on the same line at the same time. And so it will reduce the cost that the company has in order to have those meetings, which was one of the biggest obstacles that we were having was the cost of those meetings being so high. We weren't able to have them super frequently. And then the second and almost kind of biggest thing was it is burdensome for employees. We have to make it so that we're not losing a ton of revenue during the day, so it needs to be after hours. They're mandatory. There's traveling involved, traffic involved, and we get that that is not ideal. You know, nobody really wants to be doing that. At the same time, I'm sure you guys get that sometimes we have to do that. So this is a way for us to try to increase the number of meetings that we're having without increasing the inconvenience and the discomfort of those meetings. However, there still will be in-person meetings, and so I'm interested to see how this goes. Over the first couple of weeks, we'll be doing all clinics on the same line with billers, me, TLs. After we kind of get through a lot of this training material and we're feeling better about stuff, then we will likely break it up into 2, possibly 3 different meetings on Fridays, and those meetings would be with your TL. So each territory would have a TL, and those territories would meet together. You'd go over, how many appointments do you have that week? Is everyone scheduled to the max that they can be? Are there any new patients? What do we need to pay attention to for those new patients? Do we have a PT there or whatever needs to be scheduled? The TL will have an opportunity to kind of, look through things and tell you what to pay attention to, remind you what to make sure to get. You have the opportunity to ask any questions as a touch base. These TLs are getting a ton of calls every day, which is phenomenal that there's a lot of communication going on and people feel comfortable reaching out to them. But they can only answer so many phone calls in a day, and part of the reason for Slack was to assist with those phone calls. In addition to that, they're both also getting patient phone calls and phone calls from the owners. So we are trying to find ways to not have you guys not call them, but what are different things that we can put in place to almost prevent the need to call them. So this is going to be one of those things that we're trying. Next, I want to talk about FCEs. The FCE scheduling system has gotten a lot better since that Slack channel, which is phenomenal. But then Ahmad is sometimes, but not usually, getting the medical documentation that he needs in order to perform those FCEs. So I think part of the problem here might be an understanding as to what that is. So an FCE is a functional capacity evaluation, and it's most often used to judge a workers' comp patient after an injury and after they've received some treatment. Usually it's the attorney or the workers' comp insurance that's asking for this FCE because they want to see Is this patient ready to go back to work? And if so, what are they able to do for how long? Are there any restrictions? Do they need to change their job at all in order to continue doing it? And also, if the FCE is done and the therapist doesn't feel like the patient is ready to go back to work, then the FCE is used as a tool to get that additional medical treatment that's needed for the patient. So it's a really important piece of documentation. It determines whether someone's going back to work, it determines whether someone's getting surgery, it determines whether someone's getting more treatment, it determines the outcomes of cases and the settlement offers that are pertaining to those cases. So, out of all of the medical documentation that can be done in a workers' comp case, this is one of the most important parts of that case. And so it's our job to make sure that that's done really well. There's a lot on the line with that piece of documentation. And if Ahmad does not have all the background medical information on how the patient was injured, what their job description is, who were their doctors and what did their doctors do, what kind of x-rays or MRIs, CT scans were done, surgeries. He needs to know the story of what happened to this patient so that he has the context to test the patient. If he doesn't know, if all he knows was that the patient hurt their shoulder, but the patient doesn't know anything, and he doesn't have any documentation about the job description or what treatment has been done so far, then what is Ahmad supposed to do with that? He's blocked out 4 hours of his day to do what? And then even if he does do the FCE with very little documentation, then we pretty much know that he's doing it blindly because he doesn't have any documentation, and therefore the results could be, they probably aren't the best. So not taking care of the business that we have is going to affect future business. So it's really important that we take care of the medical documents for the FCE so that Ahmad has time to read them and then do a really good job. So going forward, FOCs need to have medical documentation for an FCE in Ahmad's inbox 48 hours before that appointment. Jackie will be double checking that this is done 48 hours before the appointment, but it is your job to make sure that it's in Ahmad's inbox. We really can't be having no more documentation for these patients anymore. It's not good. So please make sure that you're paying attention to that. Write post-it notes when you schedule an FCE, set a reminder in your Google Calendar to get that documentation. There's reminders in Slack, there's reminders on your desktop. There's tools everywhere for you to use for you to not forget. So not forgetting is no longer an excuse in this day and age, in my opinion. It's just not. So figure out something that will work for you, and then let's make sure that we're getting that documentation and sending it 48 hours beforehand. If you need to talk to a biller or Crystal and you need some help getting that documentation, then reach out. But we will not be using them to do it for us. And we need to make sure that we're giving ourselves enough time so that we're not impacting other people's workloads if we need their help with this. So let's definitely not wait till the last minute. Try to get it in as much advance as we can. And then Ahmad will be in the position for success. Nobody wants a frantic Ahmad in the middle of the day or morning because he doesn't have what he needs in order to do his job. Lastly, I want to talk about, not lastly, phone calls are the next thing. It seems like some people are answering the phones really well and are converting those callers into new patients, and other people aren't. And so Friday, I would like for the next couple of days for people to be paying attention to the phone calls that they're getting. What kind of phone calls are they getting? How are those phone calls going? I want to hear about what kind of calls we're getting and what those experiences are, what those questions are. So please definitely come prepared with that. because, like I said, there's a big difference between people converting the callers into patients and not converting the callers into patients. I've heard a lot of recorded phone calls that blow my mind, where self-pay isn't offered or self-pay is asked for, and we don't respond correctly. Where a patient needs physical therapy and they have a doctor but they don't have a script and we're not offering to get the script. Patient who has been injured and doesn't have a doctor or a script and we haven't offered to find them a doctor and send them to the doctor. All of these situations, these are lost patients that we paid for these phone calls, and we lost the patients because whoever answered the phone wasn't willing to do the work. And so that's not okay. We all know that we have doctors that we can refer to, and we would love to be referring to doctors. If we get a patient who doesn't have a doctor, this is now a tool for us to grow our business, because when we get to send a patient who doesn't have a doctor to one of our doctors, that's new business for them. That's us sending them business. And if we're sending them business, they're going to be more likely to send us even more business for a couple reasons. A, maybe they haven't sent us a patient in a while, and so they haven't heard our name. And when they hear our name, they're like, oh yeah, Premier Physical Therapy, and they just sent us a patient. So I have 2 patients I'm seeing this afternoon. I'll send them to Premier. And there we just got 3 new patients for the price of 1. Same thing with the script. These internet patients, from the tracking that I've done, are fulfilling all or most of their scripts. So it's 100% worth our effort and our time to go get those scripts for them. And it's not difficult. We have the script sheet, you fax it to the doctor fills it out. Sometimes the patient needs to go see the doctor, and that kind of throws a wrench in our ideal schedule, but we'll get them to go in and see the doctor, and then we'll get the patient back. So even if it takes 60 days to get a phone call to convert into a patient, that's still not bad. You still got a new patient. And your numbers are going to go up. And so, and it's not like you're working on it every day for 60 days. You might have worked on it a couple times over 60 days, and boom, now you have a new patient for 3, 4, or 5 weeks. So I definitely want people to be more conscientious about the phone calls. How can we actually help these people? Really, the only people we can't help are Medicaid for the most part. Like, there are definitely no. And so we just need to be, like I said, putting in a little bit more effort. So Friday, I definitely want to hear from people with phone call examples and, any obstacles that you're finding. Some of it may be the quality of the calls, and so that's important stuff for me to know as well. But we can't just blame everything on the calls, because like I said, I have heard a number of recorded calls that were solid leads, and we absolutely dropped the ball. So kind of segueing right from that into referral tracking. Referral tracking is something else that needs to be paid closer attention to. Pretty much, if it's an LLC case, then the referral information is coming top down, right? You're getting that information from the beginning, from management, Harvey, whoever, and so you know it already, and so then that's being tracked correctly. The issue that we're having is with the walk-ins, the phone calls, the patients that we, as in management or our direct referral sources, aren't sending you. We're relying on you to ask the best questions and get the most accurate information that you can in order to send that to the top. And so that's where we're thinking things aren't 100% accurate. And for the most part, it seems like we might just be asking one question regarding referrals. So maybe a patient calls and we ask them how they found out about us, and they say the doctor. So we write that down, we get all their information, we get them verified, they scheduled an appointment, so now they're coming in next Monday for their appointment. And we have all this information already. And we probably entered them in already too, as a quick add. That doesn't mean that you shouldn't ask them again on the day of their appointment. How did you hear about us again? Or how did you find us? And then let's ask a follow-up question. Let's ask them, can you tell me about the experience of you finding us? And if they start somewhere that you're not really looking for, like, we really want to know the process from them getting injured to them finding us. So somebody might say, well, I fell off my bike and I hurt my elbow. So then I called the doctor that I usually see, and he got me in. And now he's recommended me to have physical therapy, and gave me a script for physical therapy. And he also gave me your brochure, so I called you. Perfect. That's what we want. Or maybe it was the doctor gave me a script for physical therapy, and so I searched on my phone um, to find a physical therapy location near me. Awesome. Where did you search on your phone? Did you search on Apple Maps? Did you search on Google Maps? Oh, I searched on Google Maps. Okay, perfect. That's what we need. Um, so it's really just we need another follow up question. We really want to get that patient to tell us their entire experience. Because if we can get patients to start really telling us the story of how they found us and not just like a one word answer, then we're going to start being able to pick up some insightful information. We might start noticing a pattern that most of these patients are getting sent from doctors and finding us online. So then something from a marketing standpoint that we might try to do is get in touch with these doctors, and start seeing how we can get more involved in the process before they're finding us online. Um, so hearing patients' stories, or maybe we'll find out that patients are finding us in one area of online that we didn't, know about, or I'm not paying a lot of attention to. Um, so the more information like this that you guys can pick up and get from the patients and then relay to the company, the more and the faster we will grow, because this is not wasteful information. This is really interesting information if you think about it. Um, we're so used to just having all of our patients come from very specific places, and to not be reliant on other referral sources and to only be reliant on our own efforts and our own tracking is a very powerful thing. So that's really what we're trying to accomplish here, is our own kind of referral and business independence. We don't want to be relying on other companies sending us business. We want to have the business from other businesses, obviously, but we also want to have this foundation of our own business that we're really confident in. And this is where the referral tracking comes in, because this referral tracking is what helps us build that. And if we're not doing that well, then what I'm building, it will break. It won't last. And I want to do a good job. So, and I know you guys want to do a good job. So let's definitely pay more attention to the phone calls, try to be more intentional about them, and come to Friday with some stuff to talk about, between referral tracking, what's confusing you, what are your issues, um, where are we getting stuck there. Same thing with phone calls. So please think about this, be ready for Friday. Hopefully we get those cameras in time. Otherwise, we'll be making it early next week that we'll have this meeting. But other than that, you guys are doing a really phenomenal job in a lot of areas. So just to mention the surveys again, we are going through and doing, our analysis on that, and we still have people who need to fill out the survey. So if you haven't done that yet, please do it. If you don't, speak now, then forever hold your peace. Some really interesting information has come out of these surveys, and I'm really, really grateful that we did it. And I'm really, really grateful for the people who took the time to do the surveys and do them thoroughly, and meant it, because we really got a lot out of it. Again, one of the biggest things we found was people really want to be getting together. And that's phenomenal. The other really awesome thing that we found out was that we have like a 98% happiness rate at Premier. 98% of people were happy coming to work every day, and 98% of people had wonderful things to say about their job description, and 98% of people loved what they did and who they're working with. So That's really, really hard to find. And to think about where we were coming from 1 year ago, 2 years ago, to where we are now and how happy our employees is. That was everybody's effort. That's every single person coming to work every day with a positive attitude, giving their patients their best. It's management coming every day, trying to do the best that they can for the employees. So it's 100% a group effort as to how we got here, and it's very exciting. Another thing that came up in the surveys was that people felt like we always have problems. And this video might seem like they're problems. And what I would like people to try to think about is there's always going to be stuff like this that we're talking about. There's always going to be things that we're seeing that could be done better or differently or more efficiently. And so these kinds of topics and these kinds of conversations, while at one point Premier might have gone about it in a way that people were getting in trouble and other people might have felt like they were getting in trouble with it. Over the past 2 years, that's really 2+ years, that's really not the case. Problems are going to always happen. We're working with over 50 people. We have thousands of patients in our clinics every month. And when you combine that many humans and processes, there's going to be obstacles. But I think the biggest difference that we've been able to establish in Premier is that we're bringing these problems to the surface and we're addressing them. We're not turning our heads, we're not looking away, we're not trying not to deal with it. So one thing to consider is, which would you rather, right? Would you rather us talking about problems and working on them, or not, and them just staying and us not doing anything about them? Secondly, is that they're not really problems, they're more opportunities for growth and improvement. So as we're talking about these kind of things and we're bringing them up, of things that are not going as smoothly as we want to or whatever, it's just because we want to make it better. It's not that people are in trouble, most of the time. Management doesn't want to be getting people in trouble. The only reason people would be getting in trouble is if they're not doing their job. But if everybody's contributing, if everybody's engaged, if everybody has the right intentions, and we're doing the best that we can, we really haven't had too many issues with people getting in trouble recently. So let's keep that up as well. So it was wonderful to see you guys. I'm excited to see you all on the webcam here shortly. And again, please come hungry to give me some feedback and information about these phone calls and referrals. Hope you guys have a good rest of the day.